DeepSeek has roiled global stock markets with the launch of its latest artificial intelligence models. The company says they are on par with or better than industry-leading models in the US at a fraction of the cost, which has led to steep declines for AI chipmaker NVIDIA's shares and others. Here's what we know about the company and its product development. Since the release of OpenAI's ChatGPT in late 2022, Chinese tech firms have been scrambling to create their own chatbots powered by artificial intelligence. DeepSeek says 2 of its models have been showered with praise by Silicon Valley executives and US tech company engineers and are on par with OpenAI and Meta's most advanced models. It also says that one of them is 20 to 50 times cheaper to use than an OpenAI model depending on the task. One technology CEO told CNBC he thinks DeepSeek is using NVIDIA chips which are banned from being sold to Chinese companies. DeepSeek did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the allegation. The company is a Hangzhou-based startup whose controlling shareholder is Liang Wenfeng, co-founder of quantitative hedge fund High Flyer, based on Chinese corporate records. It is unclear how much High Flyer has invested in DeepSeek. The 2 companies have offices in the same building, and High Flyer owns patents related to chip clusters used to train AI models, according to Chinese corporate records. DeepSeek's success has already been noticed in China's top political circles. Last week, on the day DeepSeek released a new product to the public, company founder Liang attended a closed-door symposium hosted by Chinese Premier Li Qiang, according to state news agency Xinhua. Liang's presence at the gathering is potentially a sign that DeepSeek's success could be important to Beijing's policy goal of overcoming Washington's export controls and achieving self-sufficiency in strategic industries like AI.
Chinese startup DeepSeek, whose new low-cost AI model rattled tech stocks Monday, suffered a large-scale cyber attack, causing it to temporarily limit registrations. Earlier in the day, DeepSeek said it was hit by outages on its website after its AI assistant became the top-rated free app in Apple's US App Store and overtook ChatGPT in downloads. DeepSeek claims it uses cheaper chips and less data, challenging the idea that advanced semiconductors, like those made by NVIDIA, are needed to run AI applications. That sent major tech stocks tumbling, with shares of NVIDIA falling as much as 17.8% at one point Monday morning. Brian Jacobson is chief economist at Annex Wealth Management.
This could really be a change in the script, a change in the narrative around artificial intelligence, where it's no longer about what has been called the picks and shovels. That was like NVIDIA, as far as with the chips that they were selling, and maybe even the data center providers. Now it's moved on from the picks and the shovels more to perhaps the refiners and the jewelers in that narrative, where it's more about what's the actual use case of the technology.
DeepSeek's popularity has also upended widely held views about U.S. dominance in the AI space and the effectiveness of Washington's export controls targeting China's advanced chip and AI capabilities. Little is known about the company behind DeepSeek, a small Hangzhou-based startup founded in 2023 when search engine giant Baidu released the first Chinese AI large language model. Since then, dozens of Chinese tech companies, large and small, have released their own AI models, but DeepSeek is the first to be praised by the U.S. tech industry as matching or even surpassing the performance of cutting-edge U.S. models.
The founder of Chinese startup DeepSeek was little known until this week, when the company burst onto the international scene. These images from state broadcaster CCTV show Liang Wenfeng meeting with Chinese Premier Li Qiang last Monday. Images from the report showed Liang meeting with Li and other officials. Xinhua news agency said the meeting was a symposium for business people and industry experts. The launch of the low-cost Chinese artificial intelligence model proved popular on the streets of Beijing. Locals said they were very proud of the AI startup.
I feel quite proud of it, because as a Chinese citizen, we have this AI research and development that has become a global sensation. I feel, first of all, especially proud of that.
DeepSeek's emergence led investors to dump tech stocks globally. It saw market watchers question the sky-high valuation and dominance of AI bellwethers. US giant Nvidia is the poster child of the AI boom in recent years, but it saw shares sink 17% on Monday. It wiped $593 billion from the chipmaker's market value, a record one-day loss for any company.
Donald Trump says news of Chinese AI system DeepSeek should be seen as a positive. The US president said it should just spur American tech firms to do better.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that.
Trump was speaking in Miami on Monday after news about DeepSeek sparked a global stock sell-off. Traders dumped big tech names following reports that the Chinese system could match or beat US rivals at a fraction of the cost. That raised questions over whether future demand for chips and data centers would be as huge as expected, making Nvidia the day's big loser. The AI chipmaker saw $593 billion wiped off its market value, a record one-day loss for any Wall Street stock. The losses continued in Asia on Tuesday, with Japan's Nikkei index down around 1% in early trades. Chip gear maker Advantest, a major supplier to Nvidia, was the morning's big loser, falling around 10%. Trump said it was unusual to see US firms beaten on tech, but said industry and investors should welcome the prospect of lower costs.
I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with, hopefully, the same solution.
Little is known about the startup behind DeepSeek, but researchers claim it was developed for less than $6 million, a tiny fraction of the billions being spent on AI by US firms.
Denmark announced on Monday a $2 billion boost in defence spending to increase its military presence in the Arctic. It comes after pressure from US President Donald Trump, who has shown renewed interest in controlling Greenland, the semi-autonomous Danish territory and strategically important island. Denmark is responsible for Greenland's security and defence, but has limited military capabilities on the enormous island, regarded as a security black hole. At present, Denmark's capacities include 4 aging inspection vessels, 1 surveillance plane, and a dozen dog sled patrols. The new deal includes funding 3 new Arctic Navy vessels, long-range surveillance drones, as well as satellite surveillance, Denmark's defence minister said at a press conference. Denmark's political parties agreed to set aside more money for the Arctic in a deal to be presented in the first half of the year. The US military has a permanent presence in northwestern Greenland, a strategic location for its ballistic missile early warning system.
The U.S. Senate on Monday confirmed Scott Bessent to be President Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary. That sets up the billionaire hedge fund manager for a central role in crafting the new administration's policy ambitions around tax cuts and spending. Bessent is already shaping up to be a strong advocate for Trump's economic agenda. In his confirmation hearing, Bessent warned of dire consequences should Congress fail to renew $4 trillion in tax cuts expiring at the end of this year.
If we do not fix these tax cuts, if we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity.
Democrats and some economists argue Trump's steep tariffs and his economic policies more broadly would be inflationary. Bessent pushed back on that idea in an exchange with Democrat Senator Maggie Hassan.
So you believe that President Trump's policies will further increase wages and lower inflation?
I believe that they will increase real wages and lower inflation closer to the Federal Reserve's 2% target, as it did during President Trump's first administration.
As Trump's top economic official, Bessent will face a range of challenges. The most pressing will be managing federal cash flows after the government hit its statutory debt limit on Trump's second day in office. Even before he was sworn in, the Treasury Department was using extraordinary measures to avoid breaching the cap and triggering a catastrophic default. Bessent told senators in his confirmation hearing that there would be no default on his watch.
Twins Mahmoud and Ibrahim Al-Atut hug after a year of separation. Palestinians streamed back into northern Gaza on Monday, with Israel giving them the green light to return as part of the Gaza ceasefire deal. Mohammed Audi reunited with his parents and brother as they returned after being displaced for more than a year.
It's better than the whole world. It's a great victory to see my mother, father and brother. Praise to God. I have been away from them for 1 year and 4 months. I was alone in the north here. They were all in the south.
Northern Gaza's devastated landscape of crushed concrete and twisted metal is where some of the most intense Israeli airstrikes and battles with militants took place. Mohammed Arifi said being away was like death.
When I get back to Gaza City, I will come back to life. I swear to God, the feeling is indescribable. To see my family, my people, my neighborhood, where I was raised and where I lived.
Under the terms of the ceasefire, residents of northern Gaza were due to return at the weekend. But Israel said Palestinian militant group Hamas had breached the deal by failing to release civilian female hostage Arb al-Yahud in a second exchange at the weekend. So, as displaced Gazans slept on the road waiting to be allowed to head north, Israel kept its forces deployed in the Netzarim corridor that separates the north from the rest of the enclave. That was until Qatari mediators resolved the dispute late Sunday. Hamas agreed to release Yahud and 2 other hostages 2 days before the next scheduled release. The group said on Monday it had also handed over to mediators a list showing that 25 Israeli hostages are still alive, out of 33 scheduled for release. The war has killed at least 47,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry. It displaced most Gazans, many several times, including 650,000 people forced to leave northern Gaza. The ceasefire deal also requires 600 truckloads of aid to be allowed into Gaza every day of the initial 6-week ceasefire, including 50 carrying fuel. Half should head north, where experts have warned famine is imminent.
Cheers rang out in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, at the weekend, as military leaders hailed a turning point in the civil war. Soldiers celebrated from their army headquarters, which had been besieged by paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, since April 2023. Having made rapid gains, the army and allies recaptured much of the city of Bahri, north of Khartoum, along with the Al Jaili refinery last week. This set the stage for the breaking of the siege on Friday after an almost 2-year war. Mohammed Othman al-Hussein is the army's chief of staff.
With the victories achieved, we say that we have reached turning points. The first turning point is that from this time and place, a new history for the state of Sudan and the people of Sudan begins. From here, the armed forces will move forward to cleanse every remaining inch of our homeland. And from this point, we will see the return of all Sudanese from displacement, allowing them to resume their normal lives in their homeland with security, stability, and, God willing, peace.
While the army has gained control of its headquarters, the RSF remains widely deployed in Khartoum. It also controls much of Darfur and wide swathes of the Kordofan region, both to the west of the capital. The army has, in recent months, retaken several parts of central Sudan and remains in control of the north and east. Analysts say the military may wait to recapture the rest of the capital before engaging in negotiations over power. The RSF has proposed its own government, while army leaders have rejected the inclusion of the RSF in the Sudanese state. The war has displaced more than 12 million people, while plunging half the population into hunger, for which both the RSF and army have been blamed.